solidarity for Pakistan, for the people and the government of Pakistan in the wake of the floods. So that will take place this Friday.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything else. I don't see anything in the chat. Thanks very much, everyone.
I was so bad. I'm not going to say, oh, she talked about that. I'll tell you later. All right. No, I know, I heard it. It's I know, sorry, it's not an official language of the UN. Yeah, exactly. All right. Casual Wednesdays, James, today?
I'm feeling very casual.
All right, there's no tie, that's all.
Always put on the side.
What?
Good question or not?
All right. All right. All right, good afternoon. In just a few minutes, we'll have our guests from UNDP to talk about Afghanistan. That'll have Kandi Wignaraja, the Assistant Secretary General and head of the Asia Pacific section in UNDP, and she will be joined by Abdullah Al-Dardari, UNDP's resident representative in Afghanistan, and they'll talk to you about the one-year review of Afghanistan since August 2021. You will have seen that last night we issued a statement in which the Secretary General said he was deeply saddened by the death of 3 peacekeepers from Bangladesh in the Central African Republic. They were on, their convoy was hit by an explosive ordnance while on patrol in the evening. This morning, the mission is telling us that one of the critically injured peacekeeper, a 4th one who was in the vehicle, is said to be in stable condition and is receiving medical treatment. We, of course, wish him a full and speedy recovery. Just south of the Central African Republic in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the report today released by the UN Joint Human Rights Office and the peacekeeping mission documented at least 3,126 cases of torture and other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment throughout the country between April 2019 and April 2022. 93% of these incidents occurred in conflict-affected provinces. According to the report, the main perpetrators were armed groups, notably Nyatura, the Mai Mai groups, and allied democratic forces, who committed over 1,800 of these acts. A total of 1,293 violations were attributed to state agents. The report also documented 492 sexual exploitation incidents of torture and other cruel and inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. The UN mission will continue to support the government's efforts to uphold human rights and to end impunity, including through capacity building. Also on the DRC, the mission continues to pursue its efforts to protect civilians in the eastern parts of the country. A joint UN mission and armed forces of the Democratic Republic of the Congo Patrol has been sent to North Kivu after presumed forces from the Allied Democratic Forces attacked Vido near Oicha in Beni territory. This took place yesterday, and the attack triggered a population displacement towards the nearby settlement of Chabi. And the armed forces, the nearby settlement of Chabi, and also towards the armed forces of the DRC camp. Initial reports indicate that 8 civilians were killed and at least 10 houses and schools were torched by assailants. Our Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed continued her visit to Kenya today. She met with the newly elected president, Dr. William Ruto. The two discussed the impacts of climate change currently being experienced in Kenya, with a drought that has caused losses of almost $1 billion in livelihood so far. The Deputy Secretary General and President Ruto also discussed Kenya's leadership at the regional and global levels. Ms. Mohammed also met with Governor Anne Waiguru, chairperson of the Council of Governors, and attended a roundtable with Kenyan county governors to discuss climate action at the local level. The Deputy Secretary General listened to their concerns, challenges, and suggestions around climate change in their counties. and also stressed the importance of long-term planning and the imperative to leave no one behind in climate emergency responses. Tomorrow, she will travel to Kajiado, a county heavily impacted by the ongoing drought in Kenya, before going off to Cape Town in South Africa, where she's scheduled to deliver the Archbishop Desmond Tutu lecture. Also on travel, the head of our peacekeeping department, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, will visit India, the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, and Japan, and that trip starts tomorrow until the 15th of October. In New Delhi, Mr. Lacroix will participate in a two-day meeting organized by the Challengers Forum, which brings together leading policymakers, practitioners, and academics on key issues linked to peace operations. He will then travel to Abu Dhabi, Islamabad, and Tokyo. The purposes of Mr. Lacroix's visit is to thank countries for their contributions and support to UN peacekeeping, as well as to update on progress enhancing the effectiveness of peacekeeping, including through the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping Plus initiative. During this trip, Mr. Lacroix will meet with senior government officials to discuss these topics. Back here at 3 p.m., the Security Council will meet to discuss the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and council members will hear a briefing from Khaled Kyari, the Assistant Secretary General for the Middle East, Asia, and the Pacific in the Department of Political and Peacebuilding Affairs. That will be an open meeting. Yes, we will try to get you his remarks before, and I hope we will be successful. We also, of course, as you know, issued a statement yesterday in which the Secretary General strongly condemned the launch of a ballistic missile of possible intermediate range by the DPRK on October 4th. This was a reckless act and a violation of Security Council resolutions, he said. Turning to Haiti, our colleagues across the street at the UN Children's Fund are warning that the resurgence of cholera in violence-stricken Haiti after 3 years without a single reported case threatens the well-being and health of 1.2 million children living in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince. UNICEF notes that as the country grapples with clashes between armed groups and violent protests, 7 deaths have been reported and 5 positive cases confirmed. An additional 60 suspected cases are being investigated in the area around Port-au-Prince. The cholera upsurge occurs as social unrest and violence pervades the country, restricting and delaying the delivery of basic services, including at hospitals and, of course, through water supply facilities. As a consequence, 17 of the 22 major sanitary structures risk of closing due to lack of fuel. UNICEF says that 50,000 children and newborns may not receive medical care in the coming weeks as a result of the situation, and 7,000 victims of sexual violence could be left untreated by the end of the year. Additionally, 3/4 of major hospitals in Haiti are failing to provide regular services due to the fuel crisis, insecurity, and looting. UNICEF says it has positioned contingency stock to support the government of Haiti respond to the cholera resurgence. This includes 755,000 water purification tablets to serve 15,000 people for 15 days, more than 28,000 soap bars to serve 14,000 people for a month. Some good news from Sierra Leone. This week, the country became the first group of countries in West Africa to introduce and roll out the human papilloma virus vaccine as part of routine immunization to prevent deaths due to cervical cancer. This is the second most frequent cancer among women in the country. Over 500 women are diagnosed every year, and 75% of them end up dying from the disease. UNICEF and WHO supported the authorities to launch a nationwide campaign to target over 150,000 10-year-old girls through schools with 2 doses every 6 months. The UNFPA is also providing support and ensuring support for vaccination storage. The International Support Group for Lebanon, which includes the UN and key national and regional groups, today emphasized the importance of electing within timeframes set by the Constitution a new president who could unite Lebanese people and work with all regional and international actors to overcome the economic and humanitarian crisis for greater public good. As the focus is now on the presidential elections, the international support group said it is important that empowered new government is established that can implement direly needed reforms. Now is the time for Lebanese politicians to swiftly reach a broad-based national consensus to avoid a multi-layered executive vacuum, it added. The full statement is online. You will see we also issued a statement on Colombia yesterday commending the decisions announced by the government and the National Liberation Army to resume peace discussions. Finally, almost finally, two senior personnel appointments to share with you, both with UNH. The Secretary General is appointing Anjali Ashrakar of the U.S. as Assistant Secretary General and Deputy Executive Director of the Program Branch. Ms. Ashrakar brings to the position experience in leading global health programs to eliminate HIV/AIDS. She currently serves as the Principal Deputy U.S. Global AIDS Coordinator and Special Representative for Global Health Diplomacy. Secretary General is also appointing Christine Stegling of Germany, also at the Assistant Secretary General level, and Deputy Executive Director for Policy Advocacy and Knowledge Branch of UNAIDS. She brings to the position experience in and knowledge of the HIV pandemic, having served for several years as the Executive Director of the NGO Frontline AIDS. The Secretary General wishes to extend his appreciation to Gunilla Carlsson of Sweden and Shannon Hayder of the U.S., who formerly encumbered these posts, and to Eamon Murphy and Matt Cavanaugh, who both served in recent months as the acting Deputy Executive Directors in both posts. Much more online. Also want to flag to you and for all your colleagues who are thinking of going to Sharm el-Sheikh to cover COP, today is the last day for media accreditation. That means tomorrow you won't be able to do it. So please encourage your colleagues to fill out the forms. It's all on the UNFCCC website. Tomorrow we will be joined by Ulrike Richardson, who is the Deputy Special Representative of the UN office in Haiti and also the resident and humanitarian coordinator. She will brief us remotely from Port-au-Prince to discuss the ongoing situation in Haiti. Mr. Bays.
So you referred to the statement the Secretary General put out about North Korea and the fact that there is a Security Council meeting on that subject at 3 p.m. I'd like to get the Secretary General's reaction to what's happened since that North Korean latest missile. We've had the US and South Korea firing missiles, one of which seems to have exploded in the way it shouldn't and surprise some local residents. And we also see a US aircraft carrier steaming towards the Korean Peninsula. Is the Secretary General worried that the situation is escalating?
Well, I think it's clear that these situations have a way of escalating, that actions taken by the DPRK lead to reaction by others, and that's why we think it is very important for the pressure to go down and not to see any further escalation.
On a different subject, the Russian mission to the UN has written a letter to members of the General Assembly, to all UN member states, about the forthcoming GA resolution. The draft resolution that's going to be put to the GA, we think, is next week and possibly on Wednesday, urging that this be done by secret ballot. The Russian letter also says it has a legal opinion from the Office of Legal Affairs that this would be possible if the member states decided to vote with a simple majority to do it by secret ballot. They say there is a precedent for it. Can you confirm that, number one? And number two, on an issue that the Secretary General has spoken out so strongly about, that he says suggests a violation of the Charter, does the Secretary General think it would be wrong for member states to vote in a secret